Emotional freedom is one of those clear indicators that you are on the right track and that you are on this trajectory, this clear path of really recognizing, understanding, and embracing who you truly are. That is the significance of the spiritual journey. When you are on this conscious journey, rather than being unconscious, which most people are, where they're not aware that they're on this path of truly tapping into their own divinity and understanding who they really are. But you, on the other hand, now you are at a point where you reached a fork in the road, where now it's clear to you that you have to take full accountability over your journey. And though that can be very daunting and troublesome for a lot of people, because a lot of people are just lazy and they really don't want to do the work. They really want to go through life roaming and just mere existing because the ego has a stronghold on them. But eventually we all come to a point of recognizing that that isn't the best path, right? It isn't, because we often know and recognize that if we continue to go on this journey unconsciously as we've been doing, then that will ultimately lead to suffering and, dissatisfaction, unfulfillment. And that's not the way to live life. But when you take accountability, though in the beginning it could be a little bit rough because you start thinking that everything is your fault and, you're the blame for all the trouble and suffering you're going through or even putting other people through. But then you reach a a breakthrough of recognizing that, hey, if I can take responsibility over my role in life as a creator of all that is happening, I can free myself of the emotional baggage, right? The emotional trauma of going through these struggles, not recognizing that the struggles are a symptom, a symbol, right? A signal that I am not in alignment with my true self. And once you take ownership and recognize that this is what it is, right? This is why your relationship didn't work out. This is why finances are not aligned, right? This is why you're not finding a job that you enjoy, right? Why your business is not being successful, why you're not finally writing that book or taking that journey to travel around the world. It is because you're not truly being in alignment with those things. And so once you take ownership of the emotions that you have pushed away and you have mastered understanding that your emotions are a compass, they are an indicator letting you know whether or not you're on the right path or not. Okay, whether or not the path that you are currently walking in is in alignment or closer to your true self. You see, really, the thing is, all paths lead to the same destination, ultimately, which is your fulfillment and your joy. But because there are infinite paths, some paths are just simply longer, more complicated than others. Some paths, on the other hand, are simple, straightforward, right? Fast, right? Because they are just a straight path of understanding. And that's the path we often want to take. But sometimes because we're not in acceptance of who you are, you're not in acceptance of the emotions that you're feeling, you're in denial, recognizing that all emotions are a indicator, a sign, a tool to help you recognize what in life resonates with you versus what doesn't resonate with you. And so when you start to understand that your emotions are in fact the indicator, right? The most powerful tool there is to help you get to a particular destination, which is self-fulfillment, then you can let yourself have the freedom to experience those emotions. Okay. So you recognize that the negative emotions that we often avoid are in fact something that we need to embrace because they show us what exactly isn't in alignment with our true self. And once you recognize that when you do this, or when you do that, or when you speak to this person, or when you engage with this person, you have a sense of negative emotions that come up, right? That is your opportunity to look within. Ask yourself, why are you having these negative emotions? what is it is about this interaction, this exchange that's causing you to feel this misalignment? Is it because you have a bias, right? Maybe a prejudice toward that person? Is it because they remind you of somebody else that has hurt you before? Right? Or is it because they are simply not the kind of person you wish to align yourself with, but you are forcing yourself to be in communication with this person, to constantly exchange with this person? Many relationships are like that. People are so afraid to be alone that they are okay being in a toxic relationship, when that is totally unproductive and completely out of alignment with who you truly are. And therefore, that relationship would never produce or never create an environment for you to actually be your true self. And so when you look at all the emotions and all the spectrum of emotions that you will feel in life, yes, sometimes emotions just come, right? Sometimes you just feel sad. Sometimes you feel a sense of melancholy, right? Sometimes you just randomly feel joyful. You still take the opportunity to recognize and ask yourself, right? Why do I feel this emotion? If it is joy, it is great to ask that question, because then you can find an association, right? You can find an understanding as to, oh, I feel joyful because this happened, right? And that can be a tool that you can add to your toolbox of, say, for example, when you don't feel so happy, that you can refer back to that particular thing or something similar to it to trigger the positive emotions. Because the positive emotions are the emotions that actually help you moving forward in productive ways, in a way that aligns with directing you toward the destination of your desire. Whereas though negative emotions can be very productive initially, they are not sustainable, right? Because negativity is just not something that we constantly want to feel. So therefore, we need to shift, right? Though you are making progress and you're making a breakthrough, right? By using those negative emotions like anger, frustration, you have to transition over into recognizing the beauty, the appreciation, the gratitude of moving forward in life after you made that breakthrough, and recognizing that it is the positive emotions that are going to keep you sustained. So you have to understand the process and how to release the repressed emotions that you have. You have to recognize them and acknowledge that though they are there and you have been accustomed to holding them in and not recognizing them because you don't want to feel bad, right? But you have to recognize that the more you repress those emotions, the more you deny the feeling that is trying to be expressed that is within you, the more they're going to internalize, the more they're going to cause harm, if not from a outward expression, they are going to cause harm internally, right? A lot of dis-ease happens because we are holding on to negative emotions, and that is not our natural state. And so it causes your body to be misaligned, right? To experience the opposite of ease, which is dis-ease. And so you have to recognize the emotions, because that is why it is causing the disease within you. It is, again, an indicator, a sign, a signal. Something is wrong. So you have to recognize it, you have to own it, and then you have to release it. Okay, process it and release those repressed emotions, so that way you can understand yourself better. You can master self-awareness, right? By using self-reflection. Your job now is to reduce, right, that inner resistance of suffering. Because a lot of times when we are not letting go of the repressed emotions because we're not acknowledging them, they are keeping us stagnant. They are keeping you stuck, right? They represent baggage. And the more baggage you have, the harder your journey along this path of enlightenment, of fulfillment, of joy is going to be. So you have to process the emotions. You have to want to master emotional freedom and recognize that Emotional freedom does not mean that you only experience positive emotions. It simply means that you acknowledge all emotions and that you use them productively toward your fulfillment, right? You use them in a way that's going to help and support you in truly experiencing balance. Those are more emotions, all of them on all the spectrum is necessary. They're needed, just like your consciousness and your ego are needed. Along this game of life that we're here to play, we are here to gather and master the tools available to us to actually do that. So your job isn't to push down the negative emotions. Your job isn't either to just allow those negative emotions to cause you to have outbursts and react from a negative place. You are simply supposed to acknowledge them and process them in a way that is productive, and then move forward in a way that aligns with what it is that you desire and who you know yourself to be. You are not meant to be somebody who is constantly having outbursts and you're cursing people out and you're trying to fight people in the street, right? You're simply recognizing that, okay, you have a trigger. You have an unconscious belief system that is causing you to feel upset, to feel frustrated, to feel anger. Why is that? Where does that come from? And then when you recognize that, then you can begin to shift and heal from it. If you are in a relationship and you constantly try to communicate with your partner and your partner shuts you down and you don't feel heard, right? You feel sad when you try to engage with that person. Why is that? Okay. If it's the opposite, if your partner is trying to communicate with you, but you are unable to be vulnerable and really share with them who you are and what you're feeling, you have to ask yourself, why is that? Because that is going to continue to prevent you from truly understanding and tapping into happiness. This is about your happiness. So when you are not allowing your emotions to guide you, right, then you are going to continue to be stuck in a state of unfulfillment, right? In a state of habitual, sadness and depression possible. So your job is to let go of the resistance. Let go of this feeling that you are, scared of experiencing those emotions. You have to experience those emotions, but you also have to be responsible and ready to deal with those emotions in a way that allows you to feel them, but you have to put yourself in a safe space of allowing yourself the room to actually think about and process those emotions. That is going to get you to a place of understanding your true self. And the more you start to contemplate, self-reflect on those things, the more you master actually moving forward in a way that allows you to gain more clarity, right? To gain more clarity, more insight, more wisdom as to what it is you are, wanting to do and really actually doing them. Okay. So it's about really leaning toward an experience of greater peace and emotional resilience. Emotions, the more you experience something and you recognize that the emotions are not something that is supposed to just push you over the edge, right? They're not something that is supposed to control you, but you are meant to manage them, control your emotions. Doesn't mean repressing them. It just simply means you acknowledge them and you process them in a way that allows you to move forward, right? Move forward. That's the very important thing to understand. You're moving forward, not being stuck and pushing down these emotions because you don't want to deal with them. You will remain in the same spot. But if you wish to move forward in life, then you must acknowledge the emotions. You must acknowledge them, process them in order for you to move forward, heal whatever trauma that is holding those emotions or causing you to have those emotional triggers. And then you push forward, right? You push forward because it takes practice, right? It takes practice. You continue moving forward. And then once you master and gain the inner wisdom from recognizing those emotions, then you can just move on to the next thing because, we're emotional beings. And though you may master many things over time, There was always something that will get you, to another level of consciousness, of beingness, of happiness, of joy, of fulfillment. You know, don't ever feel like you have to reach this point and that's it. You are infinite being, right? And as long as you're here on this earth, you simply do your best to tap into and be the truest person, right? The truest version of yourself, right? Your true essence, your true persona, right? Your true consciousness. And so it is really recognizing that emotions are very important, right? That's why we experience them every moment. Sometimes we don't even take time to acknowledge what emotions you're feeling. So simply practice recognizing your emotions at random moments throughout the day and just ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? And be curious about it. Is it a reason why I'm feeling this? Okay, get yourself in the practice of asking yourself the questions why you feel what you feel. Because then that is how you begin to gain mastery over your emotions. And that ultimately is how you understand emotional freedom. If you need help and support with this, I invite you to get my book, The Enlightened Shadow, which is available on Amazon. So audio is also available on print and audiobook as well. Thank you so much. Feel free to go to drabundant.com, subscribe to my daily newsletter, and get so much more. Continue to join me on this journey. Peace and abundance always.